platform speech that we're going to look at is persuasion. And for this one, it's a little bit different than informative in that you're not just giving information about a topic, you're saying that there's a problem, something is wrong, it's having negative effects, maybe people are dying or being hurt or money is wasted or people are being manipulated. Somehow there is something wrong that needs to be fixed, and you have the solution. That is what a persuasive is. We have, is Ivette here? Great. Ivette Ale is from Cypress College, and she received a gold medal at the CCCFA, the California Community College Forensics Associate State Championship. And for this presentation, I'd like you to look at how she organizes a little bit differently than the informative. See what you find from this.
On July 6, 2005, Janelle Thatcher lay in shock in a Colorado hospital after being brutally raped by an unknown assailant, as reported by the Colorado Sun-Times on December 29, 2005. Her trauma would only increase as weeks later she would discover that she was pregnant with her assailant's child. But there was something that could have prevented her from becoming pregnant to begin with. And that something is a little pill called Plan B. Plan B, also known as the morning after pill, is a form of emergency contraception. But unfortunately for Janelle, in the state of Colorado, it is legal for a hospital to deny a rape victim information about emergency contraception and deny them the medication if they request it. This lack of information is a prevalent issue which has only escalated in recent months. According to PBS's To the Contrary, airing September 3rd, 2005, 10 other states, including Arizona and Utah, have already presented bills against Plan B. And now, even Congress is presenting legislation which can ban Plan B altogether. Because rape affects nearly 1 million women every year, according to the Women Organized Against Rape website, it is imperative that we make the distribution of information about Plan B mandatory for all rape victims in all U.S. hospitals and provide the medication if they request it. So today, we'll take a look at the problem with suppressing vital and accurate information about Plan B. We will uncover the reasons why Plan B is under attack across the country. And finally, we will discuss what we can do to ensure that all women have the right to choose if Plan B is right for them. Now, in order to understand why the lack of information about Plan B is such a problem, we must first take a look at what Plan B is, what Plan B is not, and the impact that Plan B can make on thousands, possibly millions of lives. Like I mentioned before, Plan B is a form of emergency contraception, and it works like this. It delays ovulation, fertilization, and implantation before pregnancy occurs. It contains labenagestrel, the same ingredient found in birth control pills. The only difference is that it contains a higher dose, which according to the American Medical Association's official website, last accessed September 5th, 2006, can reduce the risk of pregnancy by 75% if taken within 72 hours. Now, this fact is crucial for rape victims in particular, because according to the New England Journal of Medicine, on January 21st, 2005, sperm can live in the human body for up to 7 days. So there's a 7-day window in which a woman can become pregnant. If taken within that time frame, Plan B can effectively reduce the risk of pregnancy for women. But of course, the longer a woman waits to take the medication, the higher her risk of becoming pregnant. Now that we've seen what Plan B is, let's take a look at what Plan B is not. Contrary to popular belief, Plan B is not the abortion pill. Diana Weiss of the Food and Drug Administration, a practicing obstetrician and gynecologist, explains that people often confuse Plan B with mifepristone, also known as RU486, which is used to terminate pregnancies. She later goes on to explain that if a woman is already pregnant and she takes Plan B, there will be no negative effects to the mother or the fetus. So if Plan B is not an abortion pill, it is approved and supported by the FDA, and it can effectively reduce the risk of pregnancy for women, then what seems to be the problem? Well, the problem lies in the fact that information about Plan B is not being distributed to women, particularly victims of rape, even though, according to the American Medical Association's official policy, information about emergency contraception is part of the emergency treatment regimen to be provided to sexual assault victims. Despite this official policy, a recent study by the AMA concluded that only 28% of U.S. hospitals provide this information to rape victims. According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, on March 24, 2005, only 5 states, California, New York, New Mexico, and Oregon, require this information to be presented to sexual assault victims. If we have this information, and we don't provide it, it's a second form of victimization. And this time, it's federally condoned. According to Newsweek, on May 5, 2005, the federal government has recently amended the Judicial Department rape guidelines to exclude any information about emergency contraception, an omission drawing criticism across the board for states unlike California that don't have laws protecting rape victims. It is dangerous that the decision to tell a rape victim about emergency contraception is left up to the individual hospital. With nearly 1 million women being affected by rape each year and over 30,000 becoming pregnant as a result, according to the previously cited Women Against Rape website, and there's no question that Plan B can make a world of difference in the lives of countless women. But why such opposition against Plan B? Well, the answer lies in the politics of abortion, some religious conservatives, and social control. Like I mentioned before, Plan B is not an abortion pill. Yet we have federal officials like Virginia Senator Jean Marie Davis stating in the New York Times that Plan B is baby pesticide. Unfortunately, misinformation about Plan B is all too common, which has led Plan B to get wrapped up in the abortion debate. I think it's safe to say that most people, both pro-choice and pro-life, would like to see a decrease in the number of abortions. But in order for this to happen, people need to be properly informed about contraception, especially rape victims. But some religious conservatives in this country are ensuring that this information does not reach the ears of America's women. According to Newsday, on May 24, 2005, this lack of information has only increased due to a wave of hospital mergers and closings, where private and community hospitals are being taken over by religious-based owners who are opposed to including any information about emergency contraception in their treatment regimens. Now, these hospitals receive public funding, yet they're imposing their own religious beliefs on the general public. And to make matters worse, in many areas of the United States, particularly the poor areas, these are the only hospitals around for miles. So a rape victim, which requires immediate attention, has no choice but to be treated at one of these religious-based hospitals. But it's one thing for the private sector to have an agenda, and it's another for our government to have an agenda. According to CNN.com on August 3, 2005, Governor George Pataki of New York has recently vetoed a bill that would allow information about emergency contraception to be more readily available to the women of New York. And he did so based on his own religious beliefs. This now becomes an issue of social control when government officials are imposing their own religious beliefs on the general public. We cannot allow government to limit the amount of information we receive, especially when that information can affect millions of lives. So what can be done about the status quo? Well, the answer lies in both federal and personal action. In terms of federal action, the federal government can amend the current Judicial Department rape guidelines to include information about emergency contraception, therefore setting a national standard, so the decision is no longer left to the state or the individual hospital. And secondly, any hospital that does not provide this information should not receive public funding. And we can ensure that this happens by writing to our congressional representatives and telling them where we stand on the issue. In terms of personal action, tell everyone you know about Plan B. Information is power, and you can get more information by visiting the Plan B website at www.planb.org. And if you're a woman, you cannot predict whether or not you'll be sexually assaulted, but you can be prepared. Make an appointment with your doctor and ask for a prescription of Plan B so you can have the medication available to you if you need it, in case someone you love needs it. And if you're part of the 30 million women in the United States that doesn't have health insurance, then stop by your local Planned Parenthood. They can give you the information and the medication free of charge. Lori Robinson is another survivor of rape. She faced disease, emotional collapse, but not pregnancy. Because in the hospital in Washington, D.C., where she was treated, they offered her emergency contraception. Being told about Plan B, she said, in that time of total devastation, it was a relief. Janelle Thatcher was not so lucky. But we have the power to ensure that all women, regardless of what state they live in, have the right to protection.
Come on in and have a seat. Couple things. You'll notice that she started off with a story. When you start off with a story and you have someone in a difficult situation, you immediately get us connected because we care about other human beings and what they are going through, especially when the person has a name and what they're going through is horrible. Immediate connection. She also tied back to that at the end, kind of giving bookends to the presentation. What did you think about her setting up the problem? How did she do that? What did you notice? What did she do? She set up that there is a problem, first of all, by explaining what this drug is and what it's not, right? Showing the difference between that. You have to be really clear on explaining that at the very beginning, otherwise your audience will be lost throughout the rest of the presentation. And she did a very nice job of setting up why this is not available in a lot of hospitals. She gave really good sources. You may have heard sources like the American Medical Association, CNN, Newsweek, very, very credible sources that are backing her up. That's very important. And then when she went into the solution, she gave several different solutions. She gave solutions on the government level, and then she gave personal solutions. What can you personally in this room do? She wants to give you the power to make a difference in this situation. If she says that this is really important and bad and the government needs to do something and you can't do anything, it makes you feel powerless. Instead, she gives you power as well to make a difference and do something about this. Very nice. She also answered any of the problems that people have with this. In the second part of the speech, remember when she was standing in the middle here, she talked about how some religious conservatives, and notice how she said some, that was very nice, because I am to some degree a religious conservative, and I liked not being lumped in with that, so that was very nice and considerate. But she told how some religious conservatives have a problem because they don't understand it, and they're lumping it in with other drugs. So she made that really clear so that we can go and explain that to other people as well. And the last thing I wanted to comment on was her passion. She was mad. Did you feel it? If you're not mad about the subject, if you're not passionate about it, then you're not going to convince us. Are you mad about this? She's smiling now, but she clearly had the emotion and she let us see it. We have to see that emotion in you in order to be able to feel it ourselves. Any last questions for her? How about how she chose? I'll ask you. How did you choose this subject?
I'm a big nerd, so I watch PBS. And I was watching a PBS special on it, and it just really hit me. And there was a lot of congresswomen, just people from all walks of life. You know, some leaders of Christian community as well. So it was just like a wide spectrum, very passionate about the subject. So I took interest.
Okay, so it was something that you heard a little bit about, and then you pursued it more and found fun.
My question is this. There's a lot of problems out there, obviously, but how do you come up with the solutions? Are they out there, or is it in the research? How do you come up with those?
Some solutions, I actually read from the American Medical Association. There were people that wrote articles on them and that suggested things. Some of them I just came up with myself, the practical. Because Liana, my coach, she's like, well, you have to make it practical too. So we kind of brainstormed together with my team members, and they helped me come up with some practical solutions as well. So.
I actually read that Plan B, if you're pregnant and you take it, it actually increases the risk of ectopic pregnancies by 50%.
just last year. So I know that I did read articles that in like the early 90s that said that, but then I had New England Journal of Medicine, the American Medical Association, and the FDA, like they were all negating all those researches and what have you. So I mean, I compared. It wasn't just like I was looking for articles that were for Plan B. I also wanted to make sure that it was counteracted and that I had a broad scope of research on it. So.
How many sources do you recommend included in persuasive speaking?
I'm thinking at least 11. So yeah, at least 11. And I would actually research more than you're actually going to put in the speech, because sometimes it just gives you a better idea of what you're talking about. So even if you don't include a quote in it, it gives you a better sense of what you're talking about. And I think that's important. You need to know what you're talking about before you try to convince other people.
All right. Thank you very much, Ivette.